Greetings, students of Algebra 1. So the way this is going to work is I will assign a video for you to watch, and you can take notes, practice these problems on your own on a separate sheet of paper, or you can download and print this file, or you can annotate using Kami. So it's your choice how you want to do it, but you need to actively take notes. Okay, the only way to actually learn this stuff is to do it. So we are going to start with the basics, and the first couple lessons should be review from 8th grade, but we're going to start slow and make sure we're all staying together. So today is all about combining like terms and the distributive property. So when you have an expression, which is basically just a bunch of terms separated by plus or minus signs, these terms are either a variable term. Well, what makes these variable terms if they are? It's if they have a variable. So this guy would be a variable term. He would be a variable term. What else could they be? They can be a constant term. These guys are without a variable. So that 3, that's a constant, 8, constant, and -1. So each of these terms is either positive or negative. And how do you know if it's a positive or negative? You look right in front. So since that's a positive 7x. This is a positive 3. This is a negative 5x. And if it is a variable term, what do you call these numbers out front? Those are called coefficients. So it's a number right in front of the variable. So if I said, look at this term right here, what is its coefficient? Well, since the negative goes with it, the coefficient would be -5. What's the coefficient here? Positive 4. What's the coefficient here? Trick question. He doesn't have a coefficient. That's a constant because there's no variable. And in order to combine like terms, all we need to do is bring those like terms together. So I see two terms, one right there, one right there. Now what makes these like terms? Like terms, well, they essentially look alike. They have the same variable raised to the same power. So what's the variable here? Y. What's his power? Well, there's nothing there. It's actually a 1. So are these like terms? Yes. Same variable, same power. So if I've got 3 of these y's and I subtract one of those y's, since there's really just one of them, how many y's do I have left? Well, 3 take away 1 makes 2y. So we're taking many terms and we're combining them to make one single term. So let's look through here and let's see which ones are like terms. So which is a like term with 5x? Remember, it's got to have an x to be a like term with that one. Well, this -3x, that's a like term. So let's combine those. If I have 5x's and I take away 3 of them, now I'm down to 2x. So I just combine those like terms. Any other variable terms? Yep, I see a positive 6y. Does he have any friends? Any like terms? No. So I'm going to bring him straight down. Plus 6y. No more variable terms. How about constants? Well, a -3 and a positive 4. So if I have -3 and I add 4, what's that put me at? Well, you can use a calculator. But remember, you can always do this in reverse. What's a positive 4 take away 3? That would be a positive 1. Remember, if you're looking at a number line, 0 is right here, -1, 2, 3. If I was starting at -3 and I go positive 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, what number do I land on? 1. If that confuses you, you can always use a calculator. So here's my first term. Does he have any other like terms? Well, if there is, I must see an x squared. Remember, like terms have the same variable raised to the same power or exponent, the little number up there. So sure enough, I see another x squared term. So if I have, look at the coefficient, add up the coefficients now for those like terms. If I have 8 of these x squareds and I add on 2 more x squareds, well, how many x squareds do I have now? 8 plus 2 makes 10. 10 what? x squareds. Now what if this was not squared? What if it was just 2x? Is there anything I can do with this? Nope. Those aren't like terms, so I'd have to leave it just like that. Okay, 7y to the third power, or sometimes we say cubed, y. So do I see any other y cubed z terms? No, it's backwards. Y cubed z, which means these are like terms. So I'm going to combine those. We do that by adding or subtracting the coefficients. What is the coefficient of the first one? 7. What's the coefficient of this one? 1. So if I've got 7 of these things, whatever they are, and I add 1 of those things, same exact things, well, how many of those things do I have? Well, now I'm up to 8. Of those things, in this case, are y cubed z's. Remember, I can only combine those because this was exactly the same. That's what makes a like term. And he doesn't have any friends, so it's just staying negative 6yz cubed. Now the question is, why can't I combine these to make 2? Well, these are not identical. You look at them, the cubes on the y, here are the cubes on the z. So you're going to leave it just like that. Find the perimeter. Remember, to find perimeter of a shape, you're adding all the sides. Add sides. So I've got this plus this plus this. Well, let's combine like terms. 2x plus an x plus a 3x. Well, 2 plus one of them makes 3. 3 plus 3 more. What's that going to make? 3 plus 3 makes 6x. And how about any constants? Well, just this positive 1. So 6x plus 1. So that would be the entire perimeter. We know for a rectangle, the opposite sides are the same. So if this is 7x plus 1, what's this side got to be? You guessed it, 7x plus 1. And of course, the other side must be an x minus 3. So if I were to write this all out, I would do 7x plus 1. Now I'm going to add all the sides up, so I'm going to add the next side, x minus 3. And I'm going to add the next side, 7x plus 1. And finally, that fourth side, add him on there, x minus 3. So there's a whole bunch of terms here. So I need to find the like terms. Start with the first one, 7x. Well, his variable is an x, so I'm looking for other x's. Well, there's one right there. That's a positive x. And I got a positive 7x, and I've got a positive x. Add all those up. 7 plus 1 is 8. And this is going to make 8, right? So 8 plus 8 makes 16. 16 what? X. Now I'm done with those. No other variable terms, so now I go to my constants. 1, take away 3, well now I'm in the negatives, negative 2. Negative 2, add 1. Negative 2, add 1. Well, I'm at negative 1. Negative 1, now go negative 3 more, puts me at negative 4. So final answer, 16x minus 4. Oh, looks like I skipped a couple. So why don't you pause the video and work on 3 and 6, see if you can do it on your own, and then unpause and make sure you got it right. So are these like terms? mn to the fourth, mn to the fourth, yes. So add the coefficients. What's negative 7 plus a negative 5? Well, that makes negative 12. How would you type that in your calculator if you didn't know that? Negative 7 minus 5 equals negative 12. Or another way to do it, negative 7, because you're adding the coefficients, plus a negative 5 equals negative 12. If you're adding a negative, it's just like subtracting. So that's why I just say it's negative 7 minus 5. So I've got negative 12 mn to the fourth. And that's it. How about this one? Are these like terms? Can I combine these? Well, they both have x's, but are they identical? X and x squared? No, those are not like terms, so I can't combine them. There's nothing I can do. Alright, moving on to the back side. I can simplify expressions by using the distributive property. So the distributive property is basically just multiplication. Okay? So if I had this, whenever you have a number outside parentheses like this, what it's really saying is 3 times x. You're multiplying it by everything inside. So what's 3 times x? 3x. What's 3 times 8? Positive 24. And that's it. Do I have any like terms to combine? Nope. That is it. So whenever I see a number outside of parentheses like this, I know it means distributive property, which means to multiply. So I take this number, multiply it by whatever's inside. So go one by one. Negative 7 times 5, you can use your calculator. Negative 35, well, I got to tag that b on there. And what is negative 7 times a positive 4? A negative times a positive makes a negative 28. And that is it. Third one, 5 times x makes 5x. 5 times a negative 7, well, a positive 5 times a negative 7 makes a negative 35. Remember, it's not 5 minus 7, it's 5 times negative 7. It's being multiplied by everything inside. So why don't you pause, we'll do this one together. 12 times 3, well, 12 times 3 makes 36. And now I know, well, how do I know if this is going to be positive here or a negative here? Well, an easy way to think about it, I've got a positive number times a negative number. So right away, a positive times a negative, I know it's going to be negative. And if you don't know how to do this in your head, what is 12 times this? You can use a calculator. So essentially, 12 times a 1/6. Remember, multiplying fractions, multiply the top would be 12 all over 6, which reduces to, how many times does 6 go into 12? Twice. So 12 over 6 is 2, but we can't forget this guy. And that's it. Now it doesn't matter if the 3 was in front or on the back side there. It's the same exact thing. Any number outside parentheses. So let's do it like this. 3 times 4 makes 12. 3 times positive 11c. Well, 3 times 11 makes a positive 33. And c. And same thing here. Now we're not distributing just a 4. Now we're distributing a negative 4. So what's a negative times a positive? Negative. 2 times 4 is 8, and I got the y. And now I've got negative 4 times negative 1. Well, a negative times a negative, those negatives cancel out, like positive. 1 times 4 is 4. And that is it. Okay, to simplify an expression means to ensure there are no parentheses. Remember, parentheses are just these guys right here. And no like terms. Okay, so if I ever say to simplify an expression, there can't be any more parentheses left because you would distribute to get rid of them. And no like terms, which means you have to combine like terms. So to do this, just like I said, distribute first and then combine like terms. Very simple. You just go step by step. 4 times r, 4r. 4 times positive 8, a positive 32. Now, a big mistake I see is people do this. They say 4 times I is 4r, 4 times 8 is 32. You see what they forgot? You always need to have an addition or subtraction separating these terms. So a positive 4 times a positive 8 is a positive 32. Now what's being distributed over here? We're done with this part now. Now I'm distributing a negative 5. A negative 5 times a positive 2r, negative 10r. And then a negative 5 times a negative 1. 2 negatives make a positive. 5 times 1 is 5. So I distributed, no more parentheses, that's good. Now I got to go through and combine like terms. Okay, here's an r term. Any more r terms? Yeah. Negative 10r. If I've got 4 things, r's, and I take away 10 of them, well, that's going to be tough to do. But in math we have negatives, right? When you go past 0 on the left side of the number line. So if I got 4 and I take away 10, now I'm down to negative 6. Well, in this case, negative 6 what? R. And then 32 plus another 5 makes a positive 37. Negative 6r plus 37. Okay, 5 times n is 5n. 5 times negative 8 makes a negative 40. 6 times 7 makes a positive 42. 6 times negative 2n makes a negative 12n. Like terms, there's an n term, there's an n term. 5 of these n's and I take away 12. So 5 take away 12, now I'm the negatives. Negative how many? Negative 7n. Now if you wanted to use your calculator to figure that out, obviously you're not going to be typing in n in your calculator. You're just adding up the coefficients. 5 minus 12 makes negative 7, and you just got to know it's negative 7 what? N. And what is negative 40 plus 42? Remember, it doesn't matter what order you add these in, you're going to get the same thing. So it's easier to start with the positive. What's 42 minus 40? It leaves me with the positive 2. So this one here, this negative 4, it's attached to this. Okay? So we need to distribute first. That 7's just kind of chilling out front for now. Okay, so I got a 7 out front. What's negative 4 times x? Negative 4x. What's negative 4 times positive 1? Negative 4. And then I get 7, take away 4 makes 3, and then minus 4x comes down. Whenever there's just a negative outside the parentheses, it's actually a negative 1. So just like last problem, this 2m has nothing to do with this over here. It's just the number in front. Well, what's the number in front? Like I just said, it's a negative 1. So 2m, we're not going to touch him yet. You come straight down. So if this is negative 1, what's negative 1 times anything? Well, it's just the opposite. Negative 1 times a positive m is a negative m. What's negative 1 times a positive 9n? Well, that negative 1 is just going to flip the sign. So negative 9n. And you guessed it, a negative 1 times a negative 12 is a positive 12. So whenever you multiply anything by negative 1, all it does is flip the sign. See how the sign flipped, sign flipped, sign flipped. Now we go through and combine like terms. So if I got 2m's and I take away, how many is that? Remember, there's an imaginary 1 there. 2m, take away 1m. Now I'm down to 1m. But we don't need to put that 1 in front. When there's nothing there, we know it's 1. So that's gone. Then he's got no friends, so he comes straight down. And no other constants go with him, so that's it. Okay, a couple more and that's it. Negative 2 times x, negative 2x, negative 2 times 7, negative 14, and then this negative 2 is only attached to this set of parentheses here. What I'm saying is this has nothing to do with this right now. Okay? So, after I distributed, I got this, but this negative 4 actually just comes straight down. Because this negative 2 only gets distributed to the things inside the parentheses. This is totally separate. Any like terms? A negative 2x. And I take away 4 more. Well, now I'm going to be in the negatives. Negative 6x. And what else is left over? My constant, negative 14. And last one. 10, bring him straight down. Remember, this is a negative 1 being distributed. He gets distributed here and here. Well, negative 1 times y, we'll just flip the sign. Negative y. Negative 1 times negative 6, just flip the sign. Positive 6. And since this has nothing to do with this, he just comes straight down. Now I'll try to get some like terms together. 10 and a positive 6 makes a 16. And what is a negative y? Take away 1 more y. Negative 1 minus 1 more is a negative 2 what? Y. What would it be if this was a positive? What's negative y plus y? That would have been a 0. Okay, that is it. You all have a great day.